All right, folks, on this Juneteenth day, I was on social media after I played a round of golf, and I saw this story right here, and I thought it was very interesting. Verzuz co-founder Swizz Beatz Timbaland secured distribution deal with Elon Musk X. The duo maintains full 100% ownership of the platform, with X claiming exclusive distribution rights. And so you see the photo here, the Linda Yaccarino, the CEO of X, and Timbaland and Elon Musk and Swizz Beatz, everybody all smiles right here. And so I saw this story. And so when I immediately saw this story, what immediately jumped out to me was, here you have a black entertainment platform, if you will, came about during COVID, was all about the culture, features black people, black artists, celebrating black culture, not just in the United States, from around the world. And it's going to now being distributed on a platform owned by a man from South Africa who, after he bought it, re-platform white supremacists. This is the same Elon Musk who consistently promotes, retweets, and responds to racist content. This is the same Elon Musk who questions the intellectual ability of black pilots. The same Elon Musk who questions intellectual capability of black doctors. The same Elon Musk who frequently attacks DEI. So is this what we mean by doing it for the culture in 2024? See, this is the issue for me, and it always bugs me, that when I often see these type of deals, I often ask the question, I wonder what it would look like if Verzuz decided to say, you know what? We're going to do this on Fanbase, a black-owned social media app. But let's say it's not Fanbase. Christopher Boozy, Spoutable. Spill. You've got Nate Parker, David Oyelowo's Mansa streaming service. Now, I hear this all the time. Black folks will say, well, you know, do they have the capability to do those things? Well, guess what? When you get more followers and you get more resources, then you're able to build capacity. I've often wondered why, when I look at present day artists, and I look at how many of them talk about black empowerment and talk about doing it for the culture. And I'm always asking, well, who's doing it for the culture? Are they cutting deals really where they get rich, or is it actually for the culture? If Verzuz did this with a black-owned platform, let's say you take Fanbase, 700,000 subscribers. Let's say all of a sudden they did a deal with them. Here's what would be interesting. I can guarantee you Isaac Hayes III would have given Timbaland and Swizz Beatz equity in Fanbase. That means that not only would they be owning the entertainment platform, they would be owning the technology platform. And they would be driving hundreds of thousands or millions of new users to, let's say, Fanbase or Spill or Spoutable or Mansa. And now all of a sudden, the value of the platform exponentially grows. I know some of you may say, well, you know, who's done that? Well, I'll give you a perfect example. Tyler did that. When Tyler cut a deal with OWN, and he brought his shows to OWN, OWN's ratings went through the roof. When that deal ended and he went to BET, and he still has a BET deal, oh, trust me, those deals are going, are doing well because eyeballs are following. See, this is the thing that I'm always saying. Black people, our eyeballs go. But how often are we actually saying, let's bring black eyeballs to something that we own, that we control. Why make Elon Musk Twitter/X bigger and make him richer? See, at some point, consciousness, to me, has to enter into this conversation. To me, at some point, I would think and I would hope that you would have entertainers today who would be along the lines of Paul Robeson, Harry Belafonte, Sidney Poitier, Diane Carroll. When I think about Melvin Van Peebles, I can go on and on and on. Dick Gregory and others. It's called not just having a conscience, but being conscientious. And see, what we have to do is go beyond this idea of for and no more, or it's just me. You know, a guy asked me this question, which I thought was interesting. We were having this discussion, and he said, well, let me ask you a question, Roland. He said, if you could do a deal where you made $500 million, or you and 9 others who you know who are in this ownership space could make $50 million each, which one would you take? I said, easy decision. He's like, what? I said, $50 million. He's like, what? Are you serious? I said, yes, I'm very serious. I said, see, what you don't understand is I understand collective. See, if I make 50 million and my boy makes 50 million and my homegirl makes 50 million, that's 9 other lineages. That's 9 other families. That, and all of a sudden, that's not one person keeping it all for himself. I say this all the time. I've told Byron Allen this. I've told other black-owned media owners this. One person can't eat it all. Literally. In the advertising space, Disney can't eat all of it. Comcast can't eat all of it. So why should we operate that way? I just really wish we had more black entertainers today who are thinking about their leverage, power, and influence, and actually using it to build black-owned institutions. And here's the deal. Fanbase is not only for African Americans. But if we have the ability, if you have an individual or individuals who have enormous following, how hard is it to say, you know what? I could do this deal over here, and we could do this deal and make a lot more money up front, or we could shift our following here and build something that goes way beyond Verzuz. That's a platform. Last point, I'll say this before I go to Rebecca and Robert for comments. White America has always been fine when we were the show. If we singing on stage, if we dancing on stage, and if we hitting the ball, if we making baskets, if we running the ball, y'all, that's the show. They've always focused on the business of the show. And this, to me, is a perfect example of where I wish those 2 brothers, Timbaland and Swizz Beatz, had said, no, we're not going to bring this unique black cultural institution to a platform owned by a man who literally degrades black people on a regular basis. I'm sorry, you simply cannot get that. And I don't care if he put a bunch of money on the table, because you know what? Wherever black eyeballs go, the money follows. And I can guarantee you, if Verzuz was on Fanbase or some other black platform, and it blew up like it, of course, we saw during COVID, the money would be there, the sponsors would be there, the advertisers would be there, they would be all there. Hopefully, more of us will learn that one day, where we learn to say, no, I'm good. I'm gonna pass up the short money Because I'm going to build something that could actually make me a hell of a lot more money than what you're offering me today. Rebecca.
You know what, Roland? Not every Black person understands how to build for the culture, because quite frankly, what Swizz Beatz and Timbaland did was so iconic during the pandemic, but I don't think they ever had a plan for it once it blew up. This is not the first time that, in my opinion, that they entered into a bad business deal when it comes to Verzuz. They tried to do a deal with Triller, that fell apart. That didn't work out. The thing that makes this so heinous is that not only is Elon Musk a racist, he is anti-Black. He is anti-Black culture. So to take something that is inherently built on Black culture, put it in an environment that is anti-Black culture, it will not be successful, because it will not be able to thrive in that type of environment. The other issue is that Elon Musk, he's down over 20% of X, formerly Twitter, subscriptions or membership, because people just don't like what he's turned X into. So if these two, Timbaland and Swizz Beatz, would have leaned into the culture for the culture, partnered with Fanbase, it actually would have grown the number of users on Fanbase, which is the point, which is why social media platforms try to figure out exclusive licenses with different popular entities. The other reason why I don't think Swizz Beatz and Timbaland really understand what to do with Verzuz is that they could have turned it into a multi-billion-dollar music festival, which is what a lot of people screamed at them from the culture, like, hey, you should do this thing, because this thing has the ability to even outgrow and eclipse even the Essence Festival. That's how popular Verzuz was across multi-generations, and wasn't just exclusively to Black women, but it also had equal, if not more, appeal to Black men. So once again, this shows me that neither of those two understand what to do with Verzuz. And then it's just... Dog, like on Juneteenth, you're going to make this announcement that you're partnering with a racist who lets it be clear that he does not like Black people. He does not value Black people. Like, that's not for the culture. There's someone that's lost here. There is a disconnect here, and it simply doesn't make sense. Ultimately, I don't think this joint venture will be successful, because it's going to miss that missing ingredient. It's going to be missing the culture.
Robert?
Roland, this is a Socratic experiment. I want people to think to themselves, how often have you seen a Black soul food restaurant in a Jewish neighborhood next to a synagogue? How often have you seen a Black barbershop in Chinatown right next to their restaurants and their businesses? You don't see those things, because those communities keep their neighborhoods, keep their business, keep their economics to themselves. And so the first generation, they come in, they open a cleaning service or a restaurant or a daycare, something like that. Then the next generation goes to college, and then they're running those things. Then the next generation after that, they become doctors and nurses and lawyers. Then the next generation after that becomes congressmen and lawyers and politicians, etc. And that's how you keep building generation after generation. You can't build a society giving away your intellectual property. You can't build a society investing in other people and giving half your money away to other groups. That's exactly what they're doing right here. The depths of Elon Musk's racism, I don't think people can fully quite understand. And let's break it down a little bit. Before the pandemic, the headquarters of of Tesla was in California. Same with SpaceX, one of Elon Musk's other companies. The reason he left California and moved to Texas was not just the tax breaks, but the regulatory breaks. He did not want to have to comply with diversity, equity, and inclusion standards that they had in the state of California. He wanted to be able to hire who he wanted, when he wanted, and just so happened to be all white guys that he was friends with. So he moved to Texas, where they had less civil rights laws in place. He has supported politicians and making sure to trumpet this message of being anti-DEI. He has said that DEI is DIE, die. He is under the sincere belief that every black person who's in a position of power or authority is there because of affirmative action, that no black person can be qualified for any position of power and authority. Remember, he grew up and his father owned an emerald mine where he would throw emeralds around like baseballs, watching the black workers dig into the ground to their deaths in order to make his family enriched. So this idea that you would go and literally work for the ostensibly the South African Grand Wizard in order to get your message out there, to get your music out there, is why we don't have nice things. When you want to wonder why you have so many biopics about artists and singers and black musicians from 30, 40 years ago and they all went broke, this is why. Because you signed a deal with the devil. And guess what? You never win a deal with the devil. And they're going to see that this venture is going to fail because the people who are on Twitter are the people who are fans of David Duke, Turning Point Memos, the Tucker Carlson show airs exclusively on there. Those are the people, that's the audience you're reaching out to. So if you think you're going to put Verzuz right up next to the Nick Fuentes Clan Hour, you're going to miss out. So they're going to learn the hard way, just as everyone else has. You cannot build your business and build your society on the back of anybody else. You're going to have to do the work and build it from the ground up.
Somebody's killing poor people, and it's going on.
When COVID happened, poor people were dying at a rate already of 800 people a day. Before COVID, if you went to a funeral every single day, it would take you 600 years to attend all the funerals of the people who will die from the ravages of policy violence, poverty, and low wages in America in just 1 year. It would take you 2 years and 19 days to go to all of the funerals of the people that will die today, and oftentimes silence. Nobody talks about this political genocide, but we are determined today to remember their death and be a resurrection of voting power and voice power like never before.
Economic justice and saving this democracy are deeply connected. We, as a nation, must listen to the demands of the poor, who are pushing and will continue to push political candidates and elected leaders to lift from the bottom so that everybody can rise.
Take back the money, take back the money, take back the money, take back the money.
We are the poor, the marginalized, and the underpaid. And we are taking one step forward to say that everybody has a right to live.
Poverty is not the fault of those who are impoverished. It is caused by those who make the policy.
There are over 135 million poor and low-wage, low-income people in this nation.
The biggest block of potential voters by far is low-income, low-wage voters.
I can't afford medicine. Sometimes I have to skip because of the cost.
The farm worker community is tired of the violence imposed upon us by greed, exclusion, and denial of basic human rights.
Those folk that represented by that casket, poor and low-wage workers who are the most moral people in this country because they go to work every day believing, even though going to work is hazardous to their health.
I'm tired of working 70 to 80 hours a week and still not have money for the necessity of bills. I'm tired of getting sick and not being able to go see the doctor. Having to make a choice to pay between rent or the light bill or food or clothes.
You cannot claim to care about families and a culture of life and then do everything in your power to rob people of equal access to resources and to force them to live in poverty.
Leadership of both parties have waged war on poor people and low-wage workers.
And this government has treated people experiencing poverty, including their military families, with disdainful, deliberate, malicious neglect.
So the truth is that my son died from poverty.
We refuse to accept poverty as the fourth leading cause of death.
The fourth leading cause of death in this, the richest country in the world.
We march today for our children and the generations to come.
And we need to do it with the loudest voices possible, the biggest actions possible.
We will voice our demands and register our vote.
When we stand up and when we stand together, things change.
There is the electorate that is, and then there is the electorate that should be.
34 million eligible poor and low-income voters did not vote in 2016. If just 20% of those voters in swing states were mobilized around an agenda, they could change the political outcome of every election. So we're launching the most massive voter mobilization and turnout campaign in history of poor and low-wage voters, allies, and religious leaders.
People are dying, but we know it doesn't have to be this way. And so we are calling on everyone to join us in this Poor People's Campaign, a national call for more revival.
We are here, we will be seen, we will be heard, and our power will be felt. We don't need to be an insurrection. We are a resurrection that will be felt across this country. Are you ready? 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 We are a resurrection, and we are ready!